Hey guys, the Jericho2 here for runitOnes.com and welcome to episode number 5 of my mini course on Redline Mastery. Nobody folds to 4-bets anymore. Let's get into it, shall we? Calling 4-bets in, folding to 4-bets out. Today's episode, we will be talking about the art of calling 4-bets. So this may sound quite simple, but there are still a lot of regulars that manage to mess this up. And I think people don't look at ranges or something, like, I don't know, like range versus range, how it matches up. Yeah, so we'll talk about the common mistakes a little bit later. But yeah, throughout my playing / coaching career, I've noticed that a lot of players play 4-bets pre-flop quite badly. So I want to shed light on this matter and at the same time make your overall game better. So we'll be looking, like I've mentioned, at the common mistakes that players make when calling 4-bets. We'll have a look at a few examples and we will talk about how to correct those mistakes. So we have a lot on the menu today. So let's get into it. The common mistakes that players make when calling 4-bets. So there are many, there are a few. Those are the main ones that I've listed. Calling wrong combos pre-flop. So later in the server, we'll see that I think a lot of people, they just because the hand is suited, just because it has too high cards, they tend to always call it versus the 4-bet which when in reality it's actually a mistake. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. Folding too much pre-flop. There are hands that should be flatted versus the 4-bet that people kind of fold, or just you could just 5-bet them and they do not do that. So yeah, we'll have a look at that as well. Not adjusting being in position versus being out of position. That's a big one. I think there's a lot of people that kind of don't, a lot of players that don't take into account the difference, what being in position versus out of position does in a 4-bet pot. I think 4-bet pots is probably one of the spots where being in position or out of position matters the most, I think, with respect to your range, what you will do. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Always 5-betting aces, kings, and ace king pre instead of flatting them versus the 4-bet. That's another big one that I've seen from most regulars, I guess, at small to mid stakes. They don't really like to flat those hands. They just want to get the money in ASAP, have their 80-20. Yeah, so yeah, that's another big one. And the last one is having 0 5-bet bluffs. This is definitely something that I see at lower stakes. At mid stakes, I definitely end up seeing a few 5-bet bluffs, but yeah, it's still not that common. And those mistakes are easily corrected by looking at the ranges, what we will do, and by knowing the correct percentage that you should be folding versus 4-bets. So I always tell my students that you should be aiming for full to 4-bets of around 35%, more or less. And yeah, so I'll show you my 500NL database that I have on this computer, and we'll take a look at my full to 4-bet. We'll take a look at the ranges in different positions in the server, and we'll take a look at the differences between what we flat when we're in position and what we flat when we're out of position. So let's start with... So here's my 500NL database on this computer. Almost 800k hands. I think I have more than 3 or 4 million heads on that stake. So yeah, decent sample. And we can see here my fold to versus 4-bet, 36.8%. So I think that's pretty good. Could be a little lower, but yeah, having it in the mid 30s, I think is the way to go. And so now let's go into the server. All right, so let's have a look here at the narrowest of spots where we have UTG opens, MP 3 bets, UTG 4 bets, MP calls. I like to use the Payo ranges instead of the Monker ones. Okay. So UTG defense versus MP3 bet basically means like in orange it's 24 bets, in green what he calls versus the 3 bet, and white what he folds versus the 3 bet. And here we have MP splay versus UTG 4 bets. So the same. 5 bet is red, call is green versus the 4 bet, and white is full. The first thing I want to highlight here, even in those narrow spots, a lot of people still call this region here quite often. King, Queen, King, Jack, King 10, Queen, Jack, Ace, Jack, Ace 10 suited. You can see that we're folding most of those hands. This is because they are dominated. Like, yeah, they play well post flop, but the SPR is going to be so low that you won't be able to play that good even if you're in position, just because it's going to be so hard to see like a turn and river. Also, like the ranges are much narrower than in the normal like 3-bit pot. This is a 4-bit pot, so like even like some of out of positions bluffs will dominate those hands, like ace queen, like king queen. So it's not that great. Like queen jack is dominated by a lot of stuff there that 4-bits. So yeah, I would suggest following the solver's advice here, folding those hands most of the time. The other thing I want to highlight, ace king can flat pre, guys. You don't always have to click it back. It's a decent hand to flat here. So yeah, especially in those narrow ranges situation. Like if you 5-bit here, like I mean, like it's fine to do it, but I wouldn't do it every time. It just gets like super narrow in terms of range versus range. Aces, flatting a lot, like especially in position. Like what do you have to fear about? Like the pot is already big. If the money goes in, like you're good to go. So there's no issues here. The only hand that really wants to 5-bit is like kings, and I get it. If you take it down, it's not that bad. There's a bit of calling here, but not that much. So yeah. And the other hands that I want to highlight, these 8-7, 7-6, 6-5, 5-4, you might kind of ask like, why are those like snap calls, but those are not? Because those hands will never be dominated. Like they can break those big hands, those high pocket pairs. If they flop a pair, it's never like second best compared to those other hands. So yeah, those hands, if you end up 3-betting them, they are almost always a call versus the 4-bet. The pocket pairs are usually always calls, but I can see here there's a smidge of folding. So yeah. So this was for the narrowest spot here. Let's go another spot. MP opens, cut off 3-bets, MP 4-bets, cut off calls. Let's use Pio. Perfect. We can see here again those hands, this region, folding a decent amount. Not as much as before because the ranges are a bit wider, but still folding a lot here. Queen Jack, Queen 10, like snap. Jack 10. I know some regs, if they 3-bet Jack 10, they're never folding it. Mistake. King 10, Ace 10. Those mid Ace X, I think those are pretty easy folds. This is another one. Ace Queen off. I know some guys, if they 3-bet Ace Queen off, they are never folding it to the 4-bet. At least in those positions. And it's definitely a mistake here. I probably fold a bit more than this, to be honest. I only call it when there's a reason to. So yeah, I think it makes for a good fold. Ace king suited, it's flatting a lot here. Ace king off as well. You don't always have to click it back. Ace is flatting it a lot. Even kings is flatting a decent amount here. So I just want to highlight those kind of hands. Pocket pairs are never folding. The suited connectors are here. Ace 5, you can start flatting it. The other ones. Ace 3 a little bit nice. Ace 4 just folding. So that's so I think here what we can take away from here is that You can flat a little bit more of those suited broadways, but the weaker ones you still have to fold an ace queen off. It's a trap hand. Next up, I want to take a look at cutoff versus button, which is a very recurring spot here. Higher range. So yeah, even in those like wide scenarios, where cutoff is gonna have a bunch of bluffs, as we can see here on the left. Ace king is suited, is flatting, which what looks like to be like 50% of the time. It's a great hand to flat in position. You dominate all of out of positions bluffs. If you make top pair, like it's sneaky good because people don't expect you to have ace king all that often. You're protected on queen jack 10 boards. You can I don't know, it just has a lot of playability. I really like flatting it here. Obviously, I will click it back sometimes, like, because you still need to do it, but you can still flat it. Ace king off too, you can still flat it. Kings, queens half the time. You can nuke jacks if you want. I don't hate it because it's vulnerable to a lot of overcards. So yeah. Ace queen off here. Here you can flat it. Here the ranges are a bit wider. We can see he's gonna forbid like queen jack, queen 10. You're gonna dominate a lot of his hands, ace jack, ace 10. You're gonna dominate that. I wouldn't flat king queen off here. If there's a smidge of calling, I wouldn't do that. Ace 5, ace 4, ace 3, even ace deuce. If you do 3-bet, you can flat those. The only like hand of note, I guess, that you do end up folding is maybe like queen 10 suited. Can even flat king 9, ace 8. So here you can flat a lot. I think a lot of people, they might fold some of those hands here versus the 4-bet. This would definitely be a mistake to always do it. So just need to be aware of the ranges here in those wider scenarios. Now, let's take a look at some out of position spots here. And we're going to do the opposite. We're going to start by the wider spots. Okay, so let's use the Pio ranges here. Let's take a look at what big blind should do versus button 4-bet. We can see there's a lot of 5-betting. 5-betting bluff. It's something we have not seen so much yet. Ace 4, ace 5, ace 7, ace 8. I don't think a lot of people are doing this. They might be doing ace 5 and ace 4, but not those hands. Can see 9s, sometimes 5-betting. I knew 10s was 5-betting. 9s, I've seen it maybe once or twice. That's a pretty cool one. I like it. Aces, flatting. Like, I don't know, what is that, like 70% versus a 4-bet? It's really good. Like, it protects your overall, like, because let's take a look at the range here when you flat. It's like, at best, jacks, but this is mostly like nuking, so it's more like 10s, 9s, 8, 7, and then a bunch of like broadways. So if you have it like 8-eye flop, like, you're not doing like that great overall. So it's nice to have like aces to protect the weaker parts of your range. Ace queen off is a flat because those are wide situation, it's a wide spot. Ace king, you nuke. Okay, so that's not so bad. Then the suited broadways are mostly calling. Queen 10, a little bit of folding. Jack 10, a little bit of a lot of folding. But yeah, so here I just want to highlight like those hands, basically the 5-betting range. Aces flatting a lot. Then 9s is pretty cool too. So yeah, let's look at cutoff versus small blind here. Here we go. I like this dynamic of small blind versus cutoff just because I think It's one of the spots where in position cutoff will bluff the most as a four better. At least it feels like that in game. And we can see the bluffs that cutoff is gonna have a bunch of ace nine, king nine, jack nine, 10-9, ace five, ace four, and then some like offsuit. I think a lot of people like to four bet those. King queen off, ace jack, ace queen off. I don't see like fives or sevens too often. But yeah, I think this is one of those spots where cutoff will have the most bluffs in game. Theoretically, that might not be the case. And okay, but we're here for the small blind range here versus four bet. So we can see like versus four bet, he has to nuke like ace five, ace four, ace three some amount of time. Ace three is not going to three bet all that much pre though. Ace 10 is cool. I like it. I don't see it that often, but I kind of want to incorporate it. I was doing ace five, ace four. I was not doing. Even me, I'm not like five betting enough here. I think. Even myself, tens I would do. Yeah, those hands are like all pretty standard. Nine, a little smidge. And we can see another important thing. Even if the ranges are like wide, like it's a later situation, like it's cutoff is in a steal situation, like you're still gonna fold like those broadways, those suited broadways here. I don't think I've ever seen anybody like three bet queen jack here and then fold it to the folding it to the four bet. I don't think I've ever seen it. I mean, it would be hard to see because they would be folding and like I wouldn't know. But yeah, like I feel like I've seen people call it. Yeah, I've seen it at showdown. That's what I want to say. So yeah, like queen jack, queen 10, jack 10, jack 9, like maybe jack 9 people are folding in, but 10-9 you're supposed to fold a decent amount too. You're supposed to fold nines and eights as well. I don't think people are folding that. King jack, king 10, nobody's folding that as well. So a lot of stuff. And here like we start folding ace queen off again, which I think is good. Like out of position, you can see that it matters a lot, like being in or out of position. You're folding way more out of position because it's a shitty spot. And Pio likes to rip a lot pre as well because you're oftentimes just left guessing post flop. Like you're in a shitty spot. Flop comes jack high, you have tens, like it sucks, it's not even that great. So yeah, it's just like I think what we can take away from this spot is like five bet a lot pre, fold a lot pre, flat like strong stuff. You can see the flats are like pretty strong and have aces in your range to protect yourself. Otherwise, you're gonna be. Let's say you just like always rip aces here. Your range is like so deprived of value. It's really hard to play good poker when you don't have aces in that range. I feel like you're gonna be exposed a lot. So yeah. Now let's take a look at another spot here. MP opens, big blind 3 bets, MP 4 bets, big blind calls. Well, big blind, let's see what he does here versus the 4 bet. Ace 5 is basically your only bluff, right? I mean, ace king, you can treat it as bluff. But one thing that I don't know if you've noticed, but ace king is you can flat it in position, out of position, not so much. Like, yeah, a little bit here, but it's just mostly gonna rip pre, gonna nuke pre, so I don't mind that. Kings, I never was a big fan of calling it, but you can do it a little bit, maybe when you're deeper. Queens, jacks, I think a lot of people just call them all the time. Versus the 4 bet here. You can see jacks is mostly just jamming. I think it's because it's so vulnerable to overcards as well. And so I will try to do it a bit more. I was doing it a little bit, but not as much. Queens is cool. Like you can mostly call, but sometimes click back. But yeah, mostly just I mean, 5 betting a decent amount. You can see aces. Even aces is not slow playing that much pre. It's not calling as often as the other spots. So yeah, you can still call it. Ace queen suited is basically your main calling hand. Ace jack, ace 10 a little bit. You can even start folding those weaker suited connects. I mean, it's only like 5-4, yeah. So yeah, like a very narrow spot here. And we can tell like Pio not flatting that much here. It's very shitty spot. So yeah, like now that we've looked at the ranges, we've seen the differences between in position and out of position. Let's do one last one because I want to check like for big blind is not gonna slow play ace king here. It's just gonna nuke. Yeah, so ace king, like just double checking, ace king is out of position. Not really ever flat here, only like extreme scenarios. Would it be versus UTG? It's not a spot that I've looked at that often. Yeah, it would be a little bit of a flat here, just like versus MP. Otherwise, you just rip it. So yeah, those were the ranges. We saw the differences between in position and out of position. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and kind of summarize what we just did here. So ranges, in position, out of position, what did we learn in the end? Ace queen off is often a fold pre, even in position. So those are going to be like kind of one-liners, which more or less like act as a summary of what we just did. One-liners that can help you out, like remember what to do in 4-bet pots. So suited broadways are folding a lot pre, even in position. So we saw they are dominated, and yeah, like it's kind of iffy even in position, because you're just gonna get out kicked so often. So yeah, we must fold way more out of position. Mid pocket pairs, suited broadways. We saw how out of position we were folding a lot more, and we were 5-betting a lot more too. Just because being out of position sucks so much, right? We can continue way wider in position than out of position. So yeah, out of position we're folding more. In position, like having in position, like I've mentioned in 4-bet pot, is like so valuable. Flatting ace king versus a 4-bet is a thing in position. We saw it's even a thing out of position in those very narrow spots. But yeah, in position you can definitely do it. Flatting aces pre versus 4-bet should be your go-to choice most of the time. It should be, honestly. I think it does wonders. Like every now and then, yeah, nuke it, but like I think it's like so good to flat versus the 4-bet. It just strengthens your 4-bet calling range a lot. King can be flatted in position. Yeah, not that often though, but it can be. And Pio loves the ace-x suited blockers as a 5-bet bluff, especially ace-5 and ace-4. So just a good thing to keep in mind. In those later positions, you can even jam like ace-8, ace-7, ace-10. So that's pretty cool. And I think if you just follow this, it should solve 99% of your flatting 4-bet issues here. I think this will clear up a lot of like stuff that was wrong already, and then you should be like way stronger in your 4-bet pots. And the software that I've used was Bunny Poker, if anyone is interested. How will these changes impact our red line? Folding a lot more dominated hands pre will allow us to have a better overall range post and fold less on flops, turns, and rivers. So what I'm saying here is like making the right folds pre will strengthen your post flop range, and so you should fold less on flops, turns, and rivers. So you're folding more pre, but then you're folding way less posts, which I think is a good trade-off. Folding a lot more out of position to 4-bets will allow us to check fold less on flops. So very common scenario for out of position. Yeah, because like I see a lot of people, and myself included, I think I've kind of flatted a bit too much 4 bits out of position. Instead, I should just be folding more and 5 betting more. We saw that like Payo like 5 betting a lot out of position. And so I think that's a good takeaway from this session. Having ace king and king king in our flatting range and position will make us have a stronger range overall that folds less bows. This is also this is also really good advice. Like, I think most people know that flatting like aces is a given. But like, if you start flatting ace king and king king, then like you're gonna be folding way less post as well. So having a both in our flatting range in position and out of position is a great weapon to have. So yeah, basically you can call and or raise pretty much any street. I love having a in my flatting 4-bit range. 4-bit flatting range, sorry. Having many 5-betting bluffing hands will generate lots of folds pre, so you're gonna win with red line there a decent amount. And this is probably the one out of that list, the one change out of that list that should impact your red line the most. 5-betting a lot pre-flop, especially in those wider spots and when you're out of position. So yeah, guys, this was the Jericho 2 for RunItOnce.com. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you the next time. Take care.